Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Monday, September 5th, 2022, and today we're going to be talking about the state of Pennsylvania and how if the Democratic Party gets control of the state of Pennsylvania through the Senate election, essentially flipping the red seat currently held by Senator Pat Toomey, the Senate election is a lock. Now, the reason why I say this is because I have been using this interactive tool from FiveThirtyEight, exploring the different ways that Republicans or Democrats could win the midterm elections. And while it may be simple math to think about it in a way of Republicans losing a seat, meaning that it would eventually be 51 to 49, it's enough to say that if Pennsylvania, a state that currently has a Republican senator, is going blue, that the Democrats are practically assured re-election in many other states. The state of Pennsylvania will likely be voting to the left of potentially states such as Georgia or Nevada, but at some point in time that might become a stretch after we move beyond Labor Day. Now, that's not to say that Labor Day is this important point of difference between results prior to Labor Day and after, but rather that would give us a better indication closer to the election about how races are going to eventually narrow up. Now, the way that this forecast works is that it utilizes odds of the chances at victory in all of these states and puts it together for the Democrats and the Republicans. It's the same Deluxe Forecast that you see here right now. It's not the classic model, it's not the light model, it's the Deluxe Forecast that includes polling numbers, past election results, fundraising numbers, and expert ratings. So what we are exploring here is essentially what the chances are for either political party depending on certain states going in a different direction. And for the sake of treating this fairly, what we are going to start off with is actually characterizing all of the states that are currently rated as solid for going for their respective political parties. I'm not entirely sure why the FiveThirtyEight forecast decided to include states such as Louisiana on the map. I think, honestly, a very similar way to Pennsylvania. If Louisiana is going blue, everything else is going blue as well. I want you to take a look at how those chances go from 68% all the way up to 88%, practically locking down the race, because Louisiana never would decide to go blue. But obviously it isn't, so the states such as Alaska, Iowa, and Louisiana, we are going to characterize as safe red. Now, it will be quite interesting because what you will see is that you can actually find some of these ratings change as we do make characterizations. For instance, if Joe O'Dea was to win in the state of Colorado, Georgia all of a sudden becomes a lean R state, Arizona becomes a toss-up, and the Republican Party's chances at victory jump up and skyrocket to 81%. But obviously, that's not the way we're going to go. What I am most comfortable doing is characterizing the states that are likely Democrat and likely Republican for their respective political parties. We generally know Marco Rubio is going to win. We generally know J.D. Vance is also going to win. But for the states such as Colorado, we can assume that as well. The states such as New Hampshire, we can also assume that as well in addition to that. So with that alone, and we can include the state of Washington, which is a solid Democratic state, just assuming all of the states that we have characterized thus far in the likely and safe column as going to their respective parties, the chances for the Democratic Party actually bumps up. In fact, the Democrats are seemingly at a detriment to the idea that Democrats might be able to contest states such as Ohio or Florida, and that Republicans might be able to contest states such as Washington, New Hampshire, or Colorado. Now, New Hampshire is a bit of a stretch, I should say, in the most honest way possible. I think that when you remove the state of New Hampshire, you start to see where the chances start to dwindle for the Democratic Party. But realistically, the Republican Party is in very much a state of disarray within the state of New Hampshire, and I wouldn't bet on the Democrats losing that seat right now. There's a reason why it's rated as a likely Democratic state by the FiveThirtyEight forecast. Things like that don't come easily, and it only happens because the GOP is practically unable to nominate a strong nominee here, and their top candidate that could have ran, Governor Chris Sununu, backed out of the race. The former Republican Senator, Kelly Ayotte, also considered running. She backed out of the race as well. Together, that was the best opportunity for the Democratic Party to swoop in with their incumbent Maggie Hassan here and practically commit themselves to winning this election and really focusing all their efforts towards November. So with these states characterized, what happens is that we are already at 73% for the Democrats and 27% for the Republicans. And then goes the state of Pennsylvania, and look what happens. Look what happens to the results here. The Democrats jump up to an 82% chance of victory, essentially moving the state of Nevada to the lean Democratic column and the state of Arizona to the likely Democratic column. And the reason why that is so significant is because it means that now we are narrowing the playing field, and it means that the Democratic Party more than likely is going to win the state of Arizona should Pennsylvania go blue. And then goes Arizona, which Democrats could jump up to a 91% chance, and then it's down to Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada, and Wisconsin, which honestly Democrats in this situation would really only need just one seat here in order to win the election, and then that's what happens. But Beyond that, I will say that the state of Pennsylvania has been long this indicator state as well of where the country is going to go in terms of an eventual winner or the party that is gaining seats in this midterm election. The state of Pennsylvania has been one that the Democratic Party really was looking at following the 2016 election as a potential pickup opportunity in 2022. And when it came down to a time frame in which the generic ballot was looking bad for the Democrats, President Biden's approval rating was getting worse and worse as the days went on, Pennsylvania actually was removed from the possibility at a chance at victory for the Democratic Party. In fact, the same forecast that puts the Democrats now in a likely Democrat chance at victory had the Republicans up as late as even June 21st. So to put that all together, I mean, you're talking about quite literally 2 months ago, Republicans were in the favorites to win this seat. And now they're nearing less than a 1 in 5 chance at victory, and that's what happens when the race gets more solidified for the Democratic Party. But it also means that it is, in very many ways, a similar indicator to the national environment. Take a look at the results in the state of Pennsylvania between June 1st and June 21st in terms of the chances at victory, and apply that to our national model. That same time frame, Republicans had the chance at victory from June 1st through beyond June 21st, but the chances dwindled here, and you will find that it continued up until about July 25th. But at that point in time, the chances were also very, very narrow, 51 to 49 from what was 60, in fact, to 40 on June 1st. Pennsylvania was 65 to 35. To think that the state of Pennsylvania was expected to have a higher chance at victory for the GOP than the overall Senate elections really spoke to the level of advantage the Republican Party had starting in the state of Pennsylvania. I don't care what the preliminary election polls had said before the primary because they were all Democratic internals, and there's a reason why we barely covered them on this channel because, quite frankly, there wasn't much substantial data beyond the partisan polls that were funded by John Fetterman's campaign, and not as a knock to the campaign, but rather we did not have much credible data in terms of nonpartisan sources. So the state of Pennsylvania went from default, the GOP being in the advantage, Republicans expected to win, holding on to the seat that they won back in 2016, won back in 2010. I mean, you take a look at the past elections through the exact cycle that we're talking about here. Pennsylvania 2016, Pat Toomey won by 1.4. 2010, he won by 2. You go back to 2004, you find that this state went to Arlen Specter by a margin of 11 points. You go back to the election prior, Arlen Specter wins here by 27 points. It has such an ingrained Republican history in this exact class of the Senate seat. And Republicans started out with an immediate advantage because even the generic ballot polls from 2016 looked a lot better for Democrats than they did in 2022 at the time in which Pennsylvania really came to be one of our highlighted states for the midterm elections. So I stand by this expectation and this characterization that if Pennsylvania goes towards the Democrats, forget many of the other states. Automatically, it's a pickup, which means you're retracting one seat from the GOP. In addition to that, it also means that the Democrats are winning elsewhere. Take the Decision HQ forecast, for example. The state of Pennsylvania is a toss-up, but you know what isn't a toss-up? The state of New Hampshire, the state of Arizona. And if the chances rule in the favor of the Democratic Party in the state of Pennsylvania, what's to say they wouldn't in Arizona? In fact, it indicates that they very well might rule in favor of the Democratic Party. Nevada as well, 63% chance here for the Democrats in Pennsylvania, just 62.5. Now, 538 is a bit different in that regard. You take a look at the results here and you take a look at the chances. Pennsylvania is actually to the left of many, many states, including the state of Nevada. But you take a look at some similar ones in terms of chances at victory. I mean, if Pennsylvania's going, so is New Hampshire. So is Arizona. So is Colorado. So are all of these states that the GOP would very much like to target. And at that point in time, it comes down to a question, can Democrats win one of the remaining 5 competitive races? Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Nevada, and what is it? Maybe Ohio, maybe down to 4 races, considering we've already allocated in this situation, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and New Hampshire. I mean, you look at it from the perspective of even a Senate map, just the one that we're moving right here. I'm going to go ahead and adjust it here so we can move things back to normal. For instance, you take the state of Georgia. Let's say that Georgia goes red, but Pennsylvania goes blue. Democrats still maintain control of the Senate. When you have the Democratic Party locking down the state of Pennsylvania, it means they've also locked down similar states in terms of chances and candidate quality in the states of New Hampshire and Arizona. Colorado was practically already locked down. The remaining states, Georgia, Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Nevada. The question here would be, do Democrats win any of these 6 seats or 7 seats? And the answer is probably yes. Democrats probably won't be winning Florida. They probably won't be winning Iowa. Chances are they won't win Ohio. But it calls into question the possibility of winning in North Carolina, Georgia, Wisconsin, and Nevada. And as of right now, if we're being totally, real about this together, Nevada is a state the Democrats already hold. Georgia is a state the Democrats already hold. And based off of the numbers that we've seen from Republican internals, the most accurate Rust Belt pollster from 2016, Trafalgar, shows the Democrat ahead by 4 points in the state of Wisconsin. So even in this circumstance, with Pennsylvania going blue, it calls into a very, very real possibility that the Democrats, in fact, not only gain 1 seat, but also another, an overall net gain of 2. Looking at the chances also based off of this Pennsylvania prediction, it tells you everything you need to know from this point onward. Because states such as Wisconsin go down to toss-up. Looking at the chances at victory for the Democrats right now, Republicans are in the advantage. You take a look at the state of Nevada, a lean D characterization, that's practically where it is right now. North Carolina as well. Georgia is a toss-up. Arizona is likely D. But the point being that the Democratic Party doesn't see anything shift away from them with Pennsylvania going blue. But let's say we have the flip side. Let's say Democrats lose Pennsylvania, and you'll see why exactly it's so important. Because the Republican Party's chances at winning control of the U.S. Senate with a victory in the state of Pennsylvania jump up to 66%. 66%. Taking that away from the GOP means that Democrats have a significantly higher chance of victory, and they flip the race on the GOP. But if they were to just win the state of Pennsylvania, a state that they already hold, it shows you why it is so important that Democrats do win it, and why it is such a big indicator. Because if the Republicans have it, they are also practically guaranteed control of the Senate, not nearly to the same extent, but definitely a good sign. And in terms of race rating changes, Wisconsin becomes lean R. Nevada becomes toss-up. North Carolina becomes likely R. Georgia becomes lean R. Arizona becomes just lean D. It's very interesting to see what impact the state of Pennsylvania has. Because if we were to just revert altogether back to normal based off of all these other characterizations, Pennsylvania is likely D. Even if we were to give the Republicans the state of Wisconsin, a state that they very much should be able to hold if they maintain their level of expectation and outperformance from 2010 and 2016. The Republicans don't jump up into the favorites. Let's say you were to remove the state of Wisconsin. Let's say a state such as Georgia goes red, a very important one to the GOP. Does it shift the Republicans to an 81% chance as Pennsylvania does for the Democrats? To be fair, the state of Georgia voted more to the left in 2021 than Pennsylvania voted to the right in 2016. Yet a Georgia flip for the for the Republicans from the Democrats, only brings them to still the non-favorites to win the race. It shows you the importance and significance of a state like Pennsylvania. And while it might partially be counting on the state of New Hampshire being rated as a likely Democratic state, if we were to just reset, go back to normal, our standard 68 to 32 chances, if I was to characterize Pennsylvania right now as a Fetterman state, the chances wouldn't be too far off from 81%. It would be 79%. And in terms of these chances here, again, they go to what we should expect and what we have seen previously. Colorado is also a state we can very much count on to be a Democratic state. And honestly speaking, at this point in time, New Hampshire and potentially the state of Arizona. And at that point, if Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Colorado, and Arizona are blue states, states such as Georgia become lean D, Nevada likely D, Wisconsin potentially even lean D. It's fascinating to say the least, and Democrats jump up to a 96% chance of victory. Again, Republicans are more than likely going to win all of their solid races, but that doesn't have too much of an impact on the general election. Because even if we were characterizing all of these, the states, again, that are likely and safe, the chances here jump up significantly for the Democratic Party in terms of a chance of victory. And I will say it now, and I hold it to be true at least as of today. If Pennsylvania is going blue, so is New Hampshire, so is Colorado, and more than likely Arizona. But even if you take out Arizona from the equation, Democrats have a significantly high chance of retaining control of the Senate, which makes it a lot better of a look for the Democrats, nationally speaking. And it means that, honestly, they're on track for a pickup in our special elections or in our Senate elections right now, looking better than where they were in the 2020 election which was expected to be one of the best years on record for the Democratic Party, didn't happen necessarily. They still won a trifecta, but this would honestly be even better for Senate Democrats, just considering the national environment, where we are relative to past years, where President Biden is, and how the Democratic Party overcame that impact, overcame that pushback on the national Democrats, and they did so by focusing on a state such as Pennsylvania, winning it, turning the tides and directions, and it meant that the voters in the state of Pennsylvania, similar to the voters on the national level and in many other swing states, preferred the Democrats in this election, despite it being a year that was widely expected to go so poorly for the incumbent party. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2022 Senate election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.